So if they had just simply turned him over to ICE before that, this wouldn't have happened. And also a subsequent case in January, which incidentally was dismissed, where he fled police, and there was also an abduction case, things of that nature, would have never happened.
America, that is a man who used to run the federal agency responsible for deporting illegal aliens. The man he's describing has been formally deported from the United States twice. Both times a federal court order, a plane, and sent home. Both times he came back. DHS is now publicly demanding that Fairfax County hold him on those Grape charges and hand him to federal custody. The county said no to ICE over 1,000 times, has an answer, and this is what it costs.
Yeah, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security told me he's from El Salvador and he's in the country illegally. I looked into his criminal history and he has a lengthy rap sheet in our area.
What is up, guys? Tyson, DeLaCruz here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. One mechanism first. Once you understand this, everything else lands here. When the federal government formally removes somebody from the United States, files legal proceedings, gets court orders, physically puts them on a plane, that is obviously called deportation. After that, returning without permission is not just an immigration violation. It is a federal crime. It is called illegal reentry, and it carries federal prison time. Juan Arevalo Mendez came into the United States legally in 1991 as a green card holder, the permit that basically allows somebody to live and work here permanently. He lost that permit after 1998, after a criminal conviction. The government removed him in 2001. He came back. He was removed again in 2006. He came back. Both returns after formal deportation orders equal federal crimes. An illegal reentry conviction is in his documented record, meaning the federal government prosecuted him for coming back after his deportations and released him back into the communities after his sentence. His criminal file, which 7 News obtained and reported 2 convictions for aggravated assault, 2 for property damage, and an attempt to intentionally try to cause somebody permanent physical injury, failure to appear, aggravated assault with the weapon, 2 separate assault charges, drug possession, this illegal reentry conviction, making a false report, and obstruction of justice. The list, my friends, doesn't end there.
ICE says just a few days ago, Fairfax County police arrested Juan Arevalo for and kidnapping. Arevalo has a long rap sheet, which includes 2 convictions of aggravated assault, 2 for property damage, as well as attempted maiming, failure to appear, aggravated assault with a weapon, assault twice, drug possession, illegal reentry, making a false report, and obstructing justice. He was also previously arrested for assault, abduction, identity theft, drug possession, and larceny. Toscano's office dropped those charges along with the fleeing law enforcement charge.
Dropping those charges along with fleeing law enforcement charge. Apparently, in January 2026, 5 months before the Grape arrest, Fairfax County picked Mr. Mendez up after a high-speed chase on Interstate 495. He jumped out of a moving vehicle and ran. Officers caught him on outstanding warrants, including abduction and assault of a family member. Steve Toscano's office, we've talked about him plenty on this channel here. He's the chief prosecutor for Fairfax County, dropped the abduction charges and assault charges. This is a consistent theme here in that office. The stated reason, the person who reported the assault later told investigators her account was not accurate. Nick Monick asked the obvious question here. If a person gives investigators a false account, that is a crime in Virginia. Did Toscano's office file charges against her for false reporting? Toscano's office, you guys wouldn't guess it. They didn't respond. And the fleeing law enforcement charge, the one that required the victim testimony at all, was also dropped. January 2026, he walked. June 30th, 2026, arrested for Grape and kidnapping. 7 days after the June 30th arrest, DHS made a public statement. Not intentional paperwork, not a quiet call to the county, a public demand here. It was all through the intraweds, naming Fairfax County, naming Governor Spamberger, saying cooperate with ICE, transfer this man into federal custody. DHS Acting Secretary Lauren Biss used these exact words here, playing Russian roulette with American lives. This, my friends, is the language a federal agency chose publicly to describe what happened when the county refused an ICE request on a document on a reoccurring basis. The congressional hearing record shows Fairfax County freed more than, get this, you guys, 1,000 people ICE was trying to hold. Over 1,000 times, someone that ICE flagged as a removal priority walked back out into the streets.
Troubling history of letting them out on bond, a troubling history of dropping charges on very serious charges and putting them back in the community, just like this guy was. The good news here, unlike some of these cases, he's been deported before and charged with the illegal reentry after being deported. So
which is a felony.
A federal felony, which the good news is the federal government can now charge him with a criminal offense.
He spent years inside the federal deportation system. He knows the file. He knows the file. He knows the county. He knows that quote unquote troubling history is not a political description here. It is a pattern documented across hundreds of specific areas with specific names. The same office that dropped Mendez's January charges, including the fleeing charge that required no cooperating witness, is the office that DHS is now trying to work with on these Grape and kidnapping charges. A federal agency publicly accused the county of Russian roulette here. The county has not publicly responded for that characterization either. Here's the honest accounting, because leaving it out would make this weaker, not stronger here. The federal government's record on this man is not clean either. The 2001 removal and the 2006 removal are ICE successes. They did their job both times. What failed here was the mechanism to actually make those removals permanent. His illegal reentry resulted in a federal conviction and apparently a sentence that ended with him released back into the community. That is a failure that sits on a federal level. And on the January charges, when a reporting person recants and tells investigators their account was inaccurate, that creates genuine problems for the prosecutors. This is Descano's reason for the real legal reality of all of this. What I'm not going to give credit for is dropping the fleeing charges and not needing witness testimony and the office's non-response to the false report question. Those don't fill in on their own. Both failures, federal and local, are actually documented. Anybody telling you only one side made the mistake here is leaving part of the record out. The question on the table is now whether Fairfax County gives DHS the yes that they publicly asked for. That is the acted decision being made right now. The cable news networks and the lamestream media ran the arrest. Almost none of them explained the specific legal detail that was driving the DHS urgency. Here's the thing, you guys. Grape in Virginia is a bondable offense, which means basically when a defendant is charged with this, a judge can review the case, set a bail amount, and release the person while the legal proceedings continue on. It is not an automatic detention. A judge makes that individual call.
Fairfax County has got a troubling history of letting offenders like this back out in the street.
Walk the math with me thoroughly, completely here. A judge sets a bail for these Grape charges. Mendez makes bail. The county, consistent with document history, declines to honor the ICE detainer. DHS cannot legally compel local cooperation. He walks out of the Fairfax County Justice Complex while a Grape and kidnapping case with his name on it moves through the courts. He would then have a third set of deportation papers waiting, a third federal crime on his record, and be the third entry in his own immigration file. That specific sequence of events is legally possible in Virginia right now under its current policy. DHS went public on July 7th, not because things were moving towards a resolution, because they actually weren't. Virginia Governor Abigail Spanberger ended the formal partnership between state law enforcement and federal immigration enforcement on day one of her administration. The program, if those of you that aren't familiar with it, is called 287G. That is basically the legal framework under which the state police, corrections department, and other state agencies can work directly with ICE on an ongoing systematic basis.
Spanberger ended state agency agreements with ICE because she says they improperly ceded discretion and authority over Virginia law enforcement to federal authorities.
Under her Republican predecessor, Glenn Youngkin, that same program, the one that Spanberger ended, produced 130 gang members arrested in 8 weeks, including East Coast leaders of MS-13 who had been living freely in Prince William County, captured, gone, finito burrito. She ended that systematic partnership day one. Without that partnership, DHS is left filing individual detainer requests county by county. The county that they need most is the county with the most documented history of saying no. So they held a press conference instead of making a phone call, because a phone call apparently doesn't produce any results. Spamberger said this publicly, that violent criminal illegal aliens should be prosecuted and deported. The program that made that systematic, she ended it. DHS is now asking for one yes from the county that has produced over 1,000 no's. You can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't demand the outcome of a system that you, Abigail Spamberger, chose to dismantle. Here's the scope of what's happening in Spamberger's Virginia since she ended the cooperation agreement. This comes from the Department of Homeland Security, a document. This isn't a political or press claim here. That list is attached to documented cases, federal agencies' public record. Each charge category, at least one case involving an illegal alien in Virginia since the cooperation agreement ended. We're talking about child blank charges, child blank, I got to say for the YouTube purposes, murder, production of child blank abuse material. Fahey said it on camera. Spamberger's Virginia is basically, if you're an illegal alien criminal, come to Virginia and we'll take care of you. DHS is asking for one county to hold him long enough for federal agents to actually show up. The same county that freed over 1,000 people ICE was trying to detain, that file is conveniently still on the desk. America, 2 deportations, 2 federal crimes to return, a record that includes violent assault, illegal entry, January charges dropped, including the fleeing charge that needed no witness, the June 30th Grape and kidnapping. DHS specifically used the words Russian roulette and then went public because the private channels weren't working. Spamberger says violent criminal illegal aliens should be prosecuted and deported. She actually ended the program that made that statement and that process systematic. She hasn't commented on this case. He was deported twice. Both times, the system called it done. Finito burrito. Both times, it actually wasn't. DHS is waiting for Fairfax County to say yes, just once, to an ask that they said no to over 1,000 times. Let me know what you think about this. Drop it down in the comment section down below. Smash the like button if you kindly would. Share, subscribe, and as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.